Good afternoon, people of the web. This is Jason Wydrow, your host of OnlineStrategyPodcast.com. If you've been listening lately, you know that I've been covering the Google Webmaster Guidelines, specifically the area of quality. And again, if you haven't been listening, basically there are specific rules and guidelines that Google puts forward and advises website owners to follow. And of course, you know, it's as detailed as it can get without spilling the entire beans on how the entire Google search engine works. So in this series, what I'm doing is taking up a topic for every major quality guideline area and walking through it, giving some examples, and kind of filling in website owners, giving them some information that will likely be helpful to determine if what they're doing is either hurting or helping their current online exposure. So the first thing in this specific one, the topic for today is link schemes. And there's a lot of different variations of this, but basically, and I'm going to take a step back just to clarify one other thing, but if you're not familiar with what PageRank is, it's a Google measurement. It's one of 200 plus metrics that are used to basically indicate how popular your website is or whatever it is you have online, and having external websites or areas on the internet that are linking back to your website. It sounds pretty simple when you just think about it. Well, I guess if I have a ton of people that are willing to put my link on their website to my products, to my services page, to my homepage, or wherever, then that's going to help me. Well, looking at it in a simple sense, yeah, but looking at it in reality, the answer is no. Because there's a specific way to go about doing this process. And although there might be lots of speculation and lots of different promotional things you might run into saying this or that about how it works, I'm reading directly from the Google website, the Webmaster Tools information. So I take this as the stable source for information. That's why I'm using it as a reference guide, and I'm not using my own personal opinions, but I'm using the actual guidelines. Now, if I do have an opinion, I am going to say that's my opinion and that I lean a specific way, possibly based on some experience or what I've observed. So I will make notes of that, but for the most part, I'm basically just taking more technical terminology and putting it into more layman's terms so everyone can understand this a little bit better. Okay, so link schemes, right? You have your website, you have a internet presence of some kind, and you may have been told to post your link in the footer of every blog post that you put up. You know, if you're in a forum, for example, talking about your car, and you have a little footer that says, with a link to my website, down at the bottom. Believe it or not, that can actually be detrimental to your search engine position. I'm going to go over each one of these. That was just a brief example just to let you know how easy it is to walk over the line and not really even think about it. What you could be doing to cause some detriment to your website's page positioning based on certain search criteria. So one of the phrases that Google uses in the Webmaster Quality Guideline on this specific topic is something that passes PageRank. And what that means is that what I described earlier about PageRank, how it interprets and measures a metric when other websites link back to your website. So when an advertisement or something links back to your website, and it in Google's PageRank metric tool reads that and sees that, and PageRank is actually reading it. In other words, it's not directed to do otherwise. In real simple terms, there's a way where programmers can, and I do this regularly, but they can tell a link that don't follow this link. It's not meant to be followed back. Basically, it's a way of saying, look, I'm not spamming. I'm not trying to spam my website link. I'm just posting my link so it's here, but I don't want it to pass. I don't want it to be processed through PageRank because I'm not trying to, spam the PageRank system. Okay, just in a nutshell, that's just to give you some background. So the first bullet point on link schemes is text advertisements that pass PageRank. Text advertisements that pass PageRank. So envision that. Can you think of possibly any time that you put up a link to your website on another website somewhere, not knowing if that link actually links back or has the proper coding applied to that link tag that says, okay, don't pass PageRank. It's just a link to my site, but don't pass PageRank. So that's the first bullet point, text advertisements that pass PageRank. So anytime you post a link to your website, whether it's like in a footer in a forum or a forum post or a blog or somewhere else, there is a potential and likely that it does pass PageRank. And technically, that's an advertisement if you're promoting it. So that's one major one to consider. And it may have been a sleeper, like, who would have thought? But that's the deal on that one. Okay. There's some other factors. Now, there's some other ones. Another popular one that I've seen, and this was really popular back in the 90s, was the embedded widgets. And a widget is like a little tool. Like, for example, have you seen at the footer of a website, like a little counter at the bottom? It says how many times a page has been visited. Or it's on an external website saying something about your website that's, posted. Let's say you gave a friend some code to put on his website to link back to your website. And it's this little thing's called a widget. It's like an image, it's got some kind of counter maybe or something on it. Anyway, the specific Google guideline on this is links embedded in widgets that are distributed across various sites. For example, visitors to this page, 1,472, car insurance. Okay, so they're just giving an example here, but I'm using the same example. Visitors to this page, 1,472, car insurance. Okay, that's pretty... if you've ever seen those, I'm sure you've seen them, the little banner icons and things. They have counters. There's different tools. They're used for different purposes, maybe to show some other metric, PageRank, from some other, website management tool somewhere online that measures, page positions or something. Anyway, that's one to consider. Next bullet point, widely distributed links in the footers of various websites. Now, if you've ever, I've been approached over the years by lots of companies wanting to pay me to they basically wanted to sell me advertising or a link to put on the footer of my website for their client. Basically, what they were trying to do is artificially increase that PageRank, as I discussed earlier. Meaning that every time a link links back from a website to that client's website, technically that could be a good thing. So that was the assumption. But again, I kind of went over this before. There's a specific way to code it so that you're just telling about a link. You're not putting it through Google's PageRanker. So it's fine to do it that way, but the other way, it's really risky, and it's not advised by the guidelines. So if you're trying to get your link in the footer of other people's websites, if you're calling people or writing people saying, hey, can I put my link in your website, the footer? Can I put my link down here? I'm reading this right from the guidelines. So just as a suggestion, that could be detrimental to your search engine positioning. And in case you haven't noticed over the years, the Google algorithm, the way that it does its metrics and sorts things out, becomes smarter and more intelligent and more savvy to what everyone's doing. And the engineers that create this system are way ahead of the game, okay? Technology is much more advanced than the general business owner is apparently aware of in front of them on a day-to-day. So I hate to say that, but it's kind of like any idea that might come up on the subject is likely 99.9% already been fully addressed by the engineers. So it's like, don't try to cheat the system. Just don't do it. Okay, next one. Yeah, this is one I kind of mentioned earlier. Forum comments with optimized links in the poster signature. For example, thanks, that's great info, Paul. And then right below that, Paul's Pizza, San Diego. Best pizza in San Diego, right? Okay. Yeah, it was a little Ron Burgundy, wasn't it? Okay, so that at the bottom there, write your footer. You're thinking, oh, if I link back to my site with every post, the more posts I put up on this website, the more links I'm going to get back to my website. This is going to be really good for me. Think again. Again, it's the Google guidelines interpret this as a manipulation of the search engine. Now, I'm not going to go through every bullet point on this one. I wanted to cover some of the major ones, and I went over those. One other quick one. Low quality directory or bookmark site links. Okay. So you've probably, if you're a business owner, you've probably been out in the world and you've seen a tremendous amount of offers and opportunities to be published all over the internet. Be listed in thousands of directories for $99 or 50 cents or whatever. And you're thinking, oh, what a deal. That's a great deal. Well, it might be a deal for the guy who's selling it to you, but it might not be a very good deal for you and your website. So that's a really important one to consider because there's just this kind of general consensus. It's almost the same, an analogy. It's an interesting analogy, but it's kind of almost like gambling. There's nothing really different than gambling with your business, your internet presence. It's the same thing. You're rolling the dice. You're going to roll the dice every time you attempt some tactic or trick, and the odds are even more against you than the house in a real poker game, because there's a lot more going on there. But you're rolling the dice when you go for some shotgun service, boost me to the top of Google, this and that, whatever the advertisement might be saying. It's, I hate to say it, and I don't want to be like, rough about it, but I mean, I'm reading this exactly how it's laid out. A low quality directory. Most business owners know there's thousands and thousands and thousands of directories online, different types. Some of them are good, right? Some of them are perfectly fine. Some of them are relative to your content. They're relative to your business. They're relative to your product and service. They can make a lot of sense to use. But when it comes to, blasting out, all kinds of data to different sites, and you don't really know where the data is going or what the credibility of the sites are, you're opening the door to all kinds of potential problems for your website optimization, if you're not just completely banned from Google altogether. Okay? So, that was a lot to take in. I know I went over that really fast. But just think in terms of, again, and I went over this in some of my earlier tutorials. Just think in terms of this. Think in terms if you had to build a building, you were going to create a business from the ground up. You had to build a building. You had to get the, find the land. You had to find the materials. You had to find the contractors to build it. You got to decide how big it's going to be, and you need an architect, and you need this and that. So think of all these factors that go into creating a successful business, a storefront. How many? You can't really take a lot of shortcuts if you want a quality product. You can't really do that. And And Google is ever increasing their priority on quality. And that makes sense because being a search engine, the whole point is to serve up quality results, quality websites that are relevant. When someone searches in Google, who wants to see a bunch of non-relevant, junky websites that quite frankly are artificial, and they're maybe like a nice presence, but what substance do they have behind them? It's like a name, like a brand name. It's got substance, right? So think of your optimization as a long-term process, and think of it in terms of building that storefront, building that presence, building that brand name, and a natural approach to creating a self-sustained business based on others talking about you naturally, based on others finding your website or visiting your website naturally. Okay? So Joe tells Fred about your site. Fred goes to the website. Fred tells his buddy. He goes to the website. Before you know it, people are just talking about it. They're saying, hey, this guy has a great service. This guy has a great product. So you're getting, and again, there's over 200 metrics that Google uses. That's just one more, a new site visitor. So always think in terms of natural and be realistic about the position of your site and what you're trying to achieve and what your business is really all about. And just a last note, from Google on this specific thing. I'm just going to read this directly, and it's kind of just say a couple things in my own words. The best way to get other sites to create high quality, relevant links to yours is to create unique, relevant content that can naturally gain popularity in the internet community. So basically what I was just going on and on about a couple minutes ago, that's basically it. Think of your website and online presence in terms of building a business from the ground up, going by, the natural rules that you would follow if you were building a storefront. And, think of it in those terms. And you'll not only be following the Webmaster Guidelines, the quality guidelines that Google sets out on link schemes in this specific topic, but you will also find a natural following and a natural, customers for your product or service, given obviously that someone wants that product and service, but obviously, I can't tell you that. The main thing is just if you see a shortcut, you see a fast way that seems almost too good to be true. It's the same story over and over. If it seems a little bit too good to be true in relation to your search engine optimization and positioning, getting your site ranked high, you might want to reconsider and do some research. Listen to my other podcasts, get some more information, read the quality guidelines yourself. Thanks for listening. I've got to run. I got a busy day today. Wanted to get this one done. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Thanks for listening again. Take care. Podcast is brought to you by jasonwidrow.com, onlinestrategypodcast.com, and w3development.com.